Owen,
Hello.
thank you very much for coming on, mate. It's been a long time.
It's been 6 years.
Has been 6 years, and it's mad at the position and the situation that we're both in compared to 6 years ago. And I don't think either of us ever thought we'd ever get to where we are now. And it's an absolute madness. But I appreciate you reaching out the other day as well and giving some love to the podcast. Me and Chris have put 4 episodes out now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, buzzing.
We're loving it, to be fair.
Can't wait to reach 400. That's the goal.
What,
400 episodes, yeah.
Oh mate,
Why
yeah.
400?
Just because I feel like it's like a good number, like
Is it like a lucky number for you or something?
No, actually, I kind of randomly went for it. To be fair, reason why I think it'd be great, just like 400 episodes, see where you are, see where you're at. I suppose halfway mark. So
Yeah, I think for me the big thing is that I'd love to just see like where I am this time next year.
Yeah, it's always mad looking back.
And that's the maddest part for me, is that in a year so much can change, as you know, which we'll get into. And sometimes it just happens. You don't know, you don't realise it happens either. But no, I really wanted to get you on because obviously the last year or so you've had a lot of experiences, and the differences in your life 2 years ago compared to now is obviously drastically different. With obviously the band, which we'll get into as well, your personal side of things in terms of your love for music from a young age, going up to it now, the change of genre of music that you went from and to, and I think there's such a good conversation to have here as well. And I thought you'd be the perfect person to have on as our second guest.
Yeah. Also, I'm very excited as well because I don't know your music. I don't know the genre of which it switches, so I'm excited to hear your story, which is great.
Yeah. Owen, take me back to the earlier days of your life in terms of music and explain where that love came from.
Well, I'm not really sure. Like, for me personally, I was surrounded by music from my mum. She was always playing it in the car and stuff like that. And I'll be completely honest with you, I wasn't a fan.
No?
Like, the music she was playing was not what I was into at all. It was like a lot of, I think it was like Spice Girls and stuff like that.
Nice.
Like, don't get me wrong.
What, you don't
sick.
like Spice Girls?
Hold
on a second.
But, like,
I'm about to leave the podcast. I'll do it.
But like, she was playing it really loud and didn't enjoy it. And then I think it was at about 14, 15, you know, when you're finding yourself, so to speak.
Yeah.
I discovered stuff like Guns N' Roses and...
Are you a Guns N' Roses fan?
Yeah, I love Guns N' Roses.
Favorite band, man. Sick.
Yeah, they're like my
Slashes,
all-time
they're so
favourite.
sick.
Yeah, my
yeah.
all-time favorite as well.
But it was like Guns N' Roses, Queen, Metallica, stuff like that. That was about 14, 15. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, to go from Spice Girls and then to go from Guns N' Roses.
Bit of a difference.
I found my niche.
Yeah, you
so
did,
to
yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Whatever, mum, I'll do what I want. That kind of vibe.
But yeah, and like in terms of wanting to like play an instrument and stuff like that, you know, I remember the day as clear as yesterday, to be honest, because you know, me and Ryan were having a little discussion before, like what we used to do back at college. I wasn't good at anything. I was rubbish at video games. Okay, I wasn't naturally funny. I couldn't do sports or anything like that, and I kind of wanted to find something that I could do. And I was quite fortunate in a sense. So you know how like some parents, they'll save up some money for their kid over the years from when they're born, and then when they're like 16 or 18 or something, they'll give it over to them. Well, I was quite fortunate with that. My parents saved up some money for me, and then at my 16th birthday, they gave it to me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't know what to do with it. So as any 16-year-old, you'd buy clothes, Subways, stuff like that, you know. And then I remember one day I was playing Battlefield, losing, right?
Of course.
And I could hear my friend playing guitar down the microphone. Like, just, I think it was some Avenged Sevenfold riffs or something like that. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I want to do that. And he was like, yeah, you should, man. Like, it's the best thing I ever did. I don't regret it. I play it every day. And then he told me, you know, what I need to get. You should get this guitar, a little amp, cable, guitar picks. And I just thought, you know what, I've got this money. Instead of wasting it on clothes and other material stuff, why don't I invest it into something?
And before this time, were you listening to like Guns N' Roses? Were you listening to that type of music? Because like, you know, a lot of it's heavily driven by like guitars and stuff.
Exactly.
And then obviously all of a sudden you're like, somebody's on a headset and you're like, that could be me.
Yeah.
Like, that could be me. So
it's
pretty
exactly
sick.
like that. And
Yeah.
I was big into my metal at that point as well.
Yeah.
Well, I was starting to dip my toes into it, so to speak. And of course, he was playing Avenged Sevenfold. They're a metal band. I was like, that's cool. I want to learn that. And then I went online and I purchased it, and it came the next day. And my friend came over and tried to show me some riffs and stuff to do.
What was your first guitar?
It was a Jackson Dinky something, I can't remember. It was a white guitar. If you scroll back on my Instagram far enough, you will find it.
Well, let's get the picture. Let's get the picture. That'd be cool. You're gonna be there like black emo hair, like
Honestly.
dog chain.
Honestly,
it was a
White
different
guitar.
time.
if
Is it?
you
Yeah.
go back to the start of my Instagram, you will get photos of me with like side shave, but like hair completely like that, wearing full black. I mean, that hasn't changed. But,
That's cool. And black is slick. Black is slick.
You can't go wrong with it.
No.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, that's kind of how I managed to get into guitar for a friend. And I remember the first riff I wanted to learn properly, because it was quite easy, was "Do I Want to Know" by the Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, sick. Yeah, good
Nice.
choice. Yeah,
Yeah.
good start.
Why the guitar? Why not the drums? Why not the bass? Why not the saxophone? Why not anything other than the guitar?
I mean, saxophone is sexy.
It's
I would.
Such a, it is
Yeah,
such a
literally.
sexy.
I still want to take that up now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It called to me, so to speak. Not to get all cheesy
No,
on
no,
it
but
or
that's-
anything, but like, we didn't have room for drums, and I knew my mum would not allow a drum kit in the house.
Oh my, yeah.
It's why most people don't play drums, really,
Yeah.
because the parents.
So loud, yeah.
Yeah, they are.
bass is amazing, right? But I wanted to play riffs.
It's
you
not
know
as
what I mean?
cool.
Like, I looked up to people like Slash, Brian May, you know,
Yeah.
Queen, and like Guns N' Roses and guitar solos and stuff like that, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's what I want there. So, yeah.
School. We won't go too much into detail of what happened at school, because I think we'll probably get the FBI coming to the house.
Yeah.
But in terms of what happened after school, what was your plan?
What, like after college?
So yeah, from college onwards, what was the plan?
I didn't have one. I did not have one.
No one does really.
I
don't?
failed
No,
my
not really.
GCSEs pretty much, bar one. Went to college to do a public services course, which was great, but it's not really what I wanted to do. I remember, like, at GCSE, I was always like, I was going to go in the army. But I've got eczema and dermatitis, so they didn't let me in. They actually told me the day after my birthday. They called me up. I woke up. I was like, hello. And they were like, blah, blah, blah. You got this because this is on your medical record. We can't let you in. I went, oh, cool, great. What am I going to do now?
Yeah, what next? Yeah, I spent my whole life planning for that.
So I was kind of just wondering for a bit, and I left college at 17 because, I don't know, I had this realization very early on that I needed money, right? And I was wasting time in college, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm studying for a course for a job that I'm never going to do. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a police officer, firefighter, nothing like that. So what am I doing here? So I left to become an electrician. I
Yeah.
thought that's sensible, you know, something like that. And this next thing I have absolutely no shame in saying whatsoever, because it's got me to where I am today.
Go for it.
I quit pretty early on because I didn't want to do it. And the reason why I didn't want to do it was because I wanted to smoke weed and play guitar.
Cool.
Fair enough.
You used the time well.
I'm being straight up. I was a teenager. I've just left college. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to go to building yards to again do a job that I didn't want to do.
And also, let's just point out as well, like we where we live now is a very, very small town. It's a small village where, in terms of opportunities, they aren't massive. Most jobs are warehouse jobs. It's not a bad place to live. It's not awful. There's nothing like, you know, crime rate's not like massive, but opportunity-wise, it's not massive. So I always say to people, don't feel guilty that just because your surroundings aren't thriving for you doesn't mean to say that you can't thrive in your surroundings.
Exactly.
So take that chance of kind of like, you know, yeah, okay, you smoked weed and play guitar, but how good are you at guitar now? And obviously you're out there doing your thing. So yeah, just be proud of that, man. Be proud of that. And I know you said at the start you don't take any shame in saying it.
No,
neither should you.
Well, I
So-
don't touch that stuff now.
No.
You know, being completely honest, like
Yeah.
I'm not even drinking now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing dry Jan.
Same.
I love that. Everybody in January apparently doesn't drink, and then after January everyone's like, "Yeah, get me in the
We
pub."
gotta catch up.
Yeah, I've missed a month for drinking. Jeez.
Yeah, it's a good. It may be like a shameful thing to look back on, but at the time you knew nothing better.
Oh, yeah.
And like what, as said, what else were you going to do that was gonna? There's no point staying in something that you're not gonna be happy with.
Exactly.
Because you will just be miserable. And if you didn't do it, as Chris said, you wouldn't be as good as guitar as you are now, and you probably wouldn't have got into it as much as you would have, as you did.
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly.
But you know, it's one of them. Like I went from jobs to jobs, finding what I was gonna do, and I think in 2018 was when I started to, like, you know, dip my toes into like the music scene and joining bands and stuff like that. So I got no regrets.
How do you feel about, like, sorry, just kind of just throw
That's
it in
fine.
there, but how do you feel about like the performance element of it? Because I know we're gonna kind of touch on that at some point, but in terms of like playing in your room and smoking weed and then going, I'm gonna perform and what does that look like? How does that shape? That's quite like a massive thing, you know.
It's terrifying at first.
Yeah,
I love it now, right? I still get incredibly nervous before shows. You should see me. I'm pacing. I can't sit down. I'm doing breathing exercises.
Yeah.
I actually call it pre-show adrenaline now instead of nerves, just to help myself.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it was a case of like holding a guitar in the mirror and being like, how high, how low do I have it?
Yeah.
Like, what looks cool? Do I
It
wear
does
this
matter.
outfit?
It does.
Yeah.
It really does matter. Like, it's really weird, but it does matter. Like, because a lot of bands, they have this problem where, like, when people actually get to interview them or they ask them questions afterwards, they're like, oh, that's how they are. Like, oh, weird, that's weird. Because like on stage, it's a performance and they're putting in exactly what they want to portray and what they want to put out. And obviously after shows you have to do lots of shows. You see like different mannerisms, different things happen, different things, in place. But then when they're actually like the show's done, they are just people. Like, like people forget that because they constantly want photos, they constantly want to be in your space, they constantly want to be there. They forget like actually there's things that you like to do. You have an interest that you have, and it might not be anything to do with what you're doing,
It's
what
weird,
you're performing.
like, especially how like with the band now, for instance, I have like friends who, they see people online like going crazy and stuff like that, and they're like, I just still see you as Owen, my best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even wrap my head around it. I got recognised in Burbage the other day.
Oh, mad.
I was just hanging outside the Chinese, and these 4 young lads, I was on my phone, and I heard them, and I swear that's him. I swear it's him. And they walked by and they went, are you in the Mercians? And I went, yeah. And they were like, oh my God, they got all hyped up. We started talking for a bit. And
That's
then they
cool,
walked
though.
off, and I heard one of them go, yo, he's famous. And I'm like, I won't go that far just yet, but
It's nice though. It's great. It's great.
I mean, we'll get onto the feeling of how that is shortly, but in terms of a band, did you ever vision starting a band?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
The week I picked up guitar was the week I turned around to my mum after like a day or two and saying, this is what I want to do for life. And as you can probably imagine, mum turned around and she was like,
Crazy.
yeah, okay, Owen, you wanted to be a footballer or an astronaut like 2 months before. Like, but there's a drive from that. Like when family turn around to you, like when you want to do something different that isn't the norm, and family and friends, they do look at you somewhat at first. Friends are more supportive, obviously, but they do look at you and like, is this gonna work? Is it one of them? But then as soon as it starts working, it's like, oh my God, it's happening.
Yeah.
And they rally behind you, and my family are so supportive. I couldn't thank them more.
It's weird, isn't it? Because I think there's quite a bit of a stigma in terms of like that age group of like, you've got to work in an industry and you can't be creative. When actually now, so like my family get really annoyed now because I did really well in the film industry, like before, but it was the long nights for me. Just was knackered all the time.
This guy's got a podcast in himself. It's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, it's probably about 4 days long, to be fair. But like, I did really well in the film industry, and now they get really frustrated because they're like, you could have done really, really well. You could be all over the place doing stuff.
What films did you do?
I did mostly TV series.
Nice.
So yeah, I did like I did Peaky Blinders.
Really?
I did The Game as well,
That's
which
insane.
is nobody really knows about The Game, but it's actually really good. And then also did a little bit.
Murphy. It's mad.
Yeah. Actually, at the time, I didn't know who he was, so completely oblivious. And I always say to people at the time, they're like, "Oh, you met Cillian Murphy?" I'm like, "Yeah," but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And actually, just knew him as the guy on the set who was just leading the way. And I thought he was actually really nice. He's actually a really nice guy. So I thought I've got a lot of time for him. Very straight, but very nice guy. But yeah, anyway, I spent a lot of time like in the film industry. And now my family are like, "Why aren't you in that?" And I kind of enjoy my job now. Love my job now.
What do you do?
I work in luxury student accommodation.
Okay.
So I can't say too much because they'll probably catch me on it. But I work in luxury student accommodation. And when I mean luxury, it is very, very, very luxury. So,
Nice.
and there is a high demand of what I have to do in my job in terms of delivering certain services. I mean, example, they get breakfast every day. They have housekeeping almost every day.
Wow.
They have a very nice way of student living. And a lot of them are from overseas. Yeah, we've got people from all over the world. Yeah, so in terms of that, my family are like, you should be in the film industry because it's creative, it's something you love, it was something you were good at. Why have you stopped? And this question's kind of always there. But obviously, it's weird because at the time when I said I wanted to be in the film industry, everybody was like trying to push me into the army.
Yeah.
Like, you're a big lad, you should go to the army, that's what you should be doing. And then obviously when the creative way went really well, they were like, oh no, you need to like do this now. Yeah, and I bet you feel the same as well. Like all of a sudden now everybody's behind you, and they see the work ethic. They don't want you to stop. They want you to keep going.
Well, for me, it was always like, right, so You know when you meet someone who's like really business minded, like occasionally you'll come across a character and they're so obsessed with achieving something, and you know they speak about it on inspirational posts and stuff like that, and they're all like mindset, right? That's how I've always been with music. I've been so like, it's like tunnel vision is all I can see, so to speak. I've sacrificed jobs, relationships, you know, stuff like that, money, you know,
to do it,
like so much money, so much time as well. Events, because I've had to do shows or go on tour or stuff like that, because that's what I want to do and that's what I'm going to achieve. And I feel like now I'm in a position where I can say it's happening. I'm now a full-time musician, which 2 years ago I wasn't. So
and there becomes a stage where you are too far in to go back.
Oh yeah.
I find that as well. Like it's you're too far in to quit now. So even though it does get really difficult, you've just got to fucking.
It's the hardest job I've ever done.
Yeah.
Like we graft so hard.
Because it's not just the music, it's all the shows. It is all of the logistics in the background as well.
Like next week, I'm going to be doing a full year's worth of content in 1 week. Like Tuesday to Sunday.
Mad.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
I can't wait because they're usually quite fun.
Yeah.
You know, because we have like different ideas and sketches and locations and stuff like that. Sometimes outfits. Like,
oh my fucking god! I think.
I hope this is in there. I hope this is in there.
I think it's a package I've ordered. Fuck's sake!
Good timing though.
From our sponsor, Amazon.
We wish. Thanks for the pod, mate. Cheers.
And what was it?
What did you actually? Yeah, you should actually put this in there.
Yeah.
What have you ordered to interrupt us? What is so
What should
important?
be really embarrassing now? Here you go. It actually. Oh, actually, I can't show that.
She's coming over next Thursday.
I'll have to show it to everyone now.
Yeah, go on, you're gonna have to.
Friend's son's 1-year-old birthday.
Oh,
So I got him.
Yes.
that's adorable.
And enjoy. It's worth the door knocking for. So.
Oh yeah.
We love the wholesome content.
That's it. Yeah. Look at him. Your friendly
Flip it.
neighbourhood Leicester fan.
Oh, I can't fucking stand
I swear
Leicester.
you support Man U.
I do.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say.
He's a Leicester fan, so I thought.
Oh yeah,
I'd play nice. Not.
I've been to Leicester. I've been to Leicester a couple of times, my friends, but I'm a Bristol City fan. So.
Oh my god.
I'm 1-0 to West Ham. I'm very happy
I'd
with
say
that.
I'm
so.
Leicester. I don't really follow football too much. I'll be honest.
I don't really.
Leicester.
Yeah, well, I brought his son a Man United kit when he was born, and I've not seen him in it, so I thought I'd get him a Leicester
Yeah, to make up for it. Yeah.
So now we've covered a bit about your earlier years. Let's talk about the band,
Okay.
the Mercians. I, for some reason, didn't think they were pronounced the Mercians.
Honestly, right? The Americans,
That was what I initially thought.
the Mercians, the Mexicans. I've heard in Scotland.
I'd love
I
you
don't
to
know
come
where
out.
they got the Mexicans
For
from.
content next week, you've got to come out in a load of sombreros.
Oh, we've heard all to the point where. Oh, sorry. To the point where we got to a venue and you know how like the names are on the doors and stuff. It said Americans.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, the Mercians is the official way of saying it, so make sure you get it right, people. But the story of the band, or the quote story of the band, which I read to you earlier, and it is still correct, so I'll read it now. The Mercians are passionate about bringing indie music back to the Midlands. The North and South have argued about who has the better music. Well, here is your fucking answer. Neither.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
So when we got together originally, we were under a different name. And
What was the name?
The name was Idle Sons.
Idle Sons.
And it just didn't resonate with us anymore. The lads who were in the band when I joined, they wanted to move away from that, and we just got a new manager as well. And I suggested like a full rebrand, and we had loads of names. We had a whole Excel sheet just full of names of different ideas. Some of them were awful. I can't remember. Honestly, I wish I could, but some of them were awful. And I suggested the name the Mercians. And they were like, that's kind of cool. Why the Mercians? And I was like, well, Mercia used to be a kingdom in England. So
right.
if you think back to like
I did think that. I
Anglo-Saxon-
was wondering if you were going off the War of the Roses approach.
I mainly remembered it from Vikings.
Oh yeah, cool, sick, yeah.
Mercia. You had Northumbria,
Yep.
Wessex.
Yeah, Wessex. Yeah.
And Mercia in the
Sick.
middle. And eventually Mercia became the largest kingdom. We're in the Midlands. Leicester, slap bang in the centre of the UK. You can't get any more middle.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we were thinking, like, you know, it's always Oasis versus Blur, Manchester versus London, or Liverpool. You know, who has better music? And we were like, who actually represents the Midlands? Because, you know, some people will say it doesn't exist. I'm on the motorway all the time. I see signs that say the Midlands. It exists.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So we thought, well, let's represent our people, so to speak, you know, the Midlands, and then branch out from there. And it's caught on. People seem to love it.
Yeah, six. I actually love that title of it came from the Vikings as well. Six.
It's a really cool backstory.
Yeah,
a lot of
cool.
bands don't have they have a backstory, but it's not as cool.
Yeah.
But when you're making a band name, making a band name is one of the hardest things you can do. Right, it might seem
naming
easy.
anything. It's just hard, isn't it?
Exactly, like, because that's your brand immediately, right? And people are always going to ask, what does it mean? And well, the examples I just gave you, the Mercians means that, like, the last name didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And it could be interpreted in different ways, and people could spell it wrong and stuff like that. Granted, people are still spelling and saying our name wrong.
Yeah. The Mexicans, that made me fucking laugh.
But
The thing is, people must be looking at it going, the Americans, centre of the world. And actually, the Mercians, centre of England, actually, thanks.
Yeah.
But, give us some respect.
But a name is hard as we were. How many times have we toured with the names for this?
Yeah, we had probably about 30, 40 names.
Yeah,
30, 40
just
names,
going back and forward. And like,
any you remember?
the casting couch was one. And I thought, well,
that was a bad one.
Yeah, probably won't go
I'll
with
be a
that
bit
one.
hesitant to come over. If that's the case.
Especially if you knew there's a black guy on the pod as well.
Yeah. So that was one, which I thought it was quite cool because the original plan was to have it all in there.
Yeah, on the sofa.
Really?
And then
Yeah,
just
it's
chill
all
on the
yeah.
sofa and do something like that, but they didn't really work. This is much better setup.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I think this is
Came
the
for
setup.
this setup, it's good.
But that was one of them, and it's because you need something for marketing terms as well, and something that's easy to remember, and something that's quite relatable as well, and that's something that rolls off the tongue. So we thought, well, the best version of you is what we talk about anyway, of how to be that, but also it's very simple to remember, and there's not huge words in there as
That's
well,
it. Yeah, just keep it trying simple.
So
No, I like it.
yeah, so it was.
There was a long list. There's a long list.
Oh mate, it was ridiculous. But the band members:
Yes.
Matt, the singer; Joe, the lead guitarist; Harry on bass; you as a rhythm guitar; and Ben on the drums. How did you all meet?
Well, strap yourselves in because this is a story.
Okay, go for it.
So, lockdown. Okay. So, as you know, I used to be in metal bands, metalhead. That's all I'd listen to. I went deep in metal. Like, I would always go Download Festival, listen to the heaviest bands, stuff like that. I still do, right? Not as much. And lockdown is to thank for that. So, lockdown was obviously terrible for everyone, right? It was so depressing. And I personally got sick of listening to someone scream in my ear every single day. Like, I was working in care at the time, and I was so tired, you know, and life just wasn't great. So I wanted to, you know, move on to other things. So I started listening to a bit of indie. And at this point, I wasn't in a band. I actually left my band because lockdown, again, destroyed it. And that band was One Still Standing, by the way. I remember during lockdown, I actually applied for the Royal Marines because it was a number of years since, like, I tried at college. I thought I'd be fine. Didn't get in again because I had a sudden eczema flare up, and it was really bad. To be fair, the pictures aren't great. And I thought, okay, that isn't going to work out. And I wasn't in a band anymore because I just left my band, One Still Standing. So I was floating around, just getting on with life, to be honest, just trying to focus on myself a bit. I was applying for bands online. There are websites, funnily enough, you can go to, and reaching out to people and stuff like that. But nothing was coming back. So I thought, whatever. I'm just going to focus on getting through the next day, you know. And one day I got a message from my ex-drummer, Charlie. And he was like, hey, mate, I'm starting a band and I'm looking for a guitarist and I was wondering if you'd be available. Can I give you a quick call to explain it? And I thought, okay, I'm just trying to cook my bacon and eggs in peace. Can we message? And he was like, I really think you should listen to the phone call on this. It's quite an interesting offer. And I went, okay. So I gave him a number and he gave me a call. And he was explaining that he's in an indie band, right? And there's this manager. So he sent me over the songs to listen to, and these got sent to BBC Introducing, which then got sent to the manager of the time. and he was running them. And basically his story, or at least what he was telling us, was that he was mates with Liam Gallagher. He was best friends with Ed Sheeran and stuff like that. He works with record labels, and he wants us to be our project. Or yeah, his project, sorry. And you know, he was showing us examples of bands that are still going now that he's worked with. They're now signed by Warner Brothers. You know, I'm seeing footage of sold out shows and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh my God, like this is insane. Like this. So I thought, let me listen to the songs, digest it a bit, and I'll go for it. So I listened to the songs and I was like, absolutely cool. The singer was mainly Matt. Like, I've been searching for a male vocalist for such a long time. Believe it or not, it's really hard to find a bloke who can sing, right? Yeah. And he is the best singer that I know, hands down.
He's very good.
So I thought, yeah, go for it. Why not? And I had to audition, and I learned all the songs. That was a graft. And went to the auditions, passed. I got a call from the manager, and he was like, yep, that's no problem. I'm going to get you in the band. We're actually going to get some new members in as well. So if you know another bass player and guitarist, you know, put them forward. And I went back to college at 19, right, where I met Joe. And I thought, he's perfect. So we got him in for an audition, and he joined the band. Then we found Harry as well. And that made the Mercians at that point. And, you know, it was all right. And then, and this is another story on its own. Me and Harry went to London one day to go watch the Skinner Brothers, if you've ever heard of them. And it was at the 100 Club in London. And Rats were supporting. That was the managers of a band, who he's not with anymore. And I saw the singer, I think his name was Joe, and I'm just chatting to him. Well, I see him going up some stairs. I'm like, "You're right, Joe, mate." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right, mate," because he's a Scouser, right? Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm with Harry's band now." And he's like, "Excuse me?" And I say, "You know, your old manager, we're his new band." And he was like, "Oh my God, mate, get upstairs now. I need to tell you some things." Really? Wow. He conned us of £15,000. Like, and I was like, "Oh my God." And he was a con man. He's this, he's that, and everything. And I'm just there like,
soaking it all up, taking the information. Yeah, like,
guys. So I kept that hush hush. I told Harry, and we were both talking to him for the whole night. And turns out the guy is a professional con man, pretty much. And he was in, like, there were other people in the venue who knew him, and he was like, he can do bits for you, but you just got to watch out.
I do wonder, like, you've got to have some sort of platform to put people forward, but also obviously he's in it for himself to make money, surely, clearly.
This is the thing.
Or maybe he wants publicity, or
he stole £8,000 from us.
Oh really?
Yeah. So we were like, as any business, you all put in to like a bank account, and he basically took the money and run. Like, we met him in Ipswich or London, I can't remember, one of them. And, you know, he was telling us about Ed Sheeran stuff. He can do this with labels, and, you know, it was all lies. And he took £8,000 from us. And, you know, at that point, you think to yourselves, what are we going to do? Like, we're not even out there yet. We haven't even got an Instagram with this much down. Most people would give up. We didn't. Yeah. So we were like, you know, can I swear?
Mate, go for it.
We were like, fuck this guy. All right, we're going to write a song about him called Dream Seller, which to this day is still our most popular song. It's almost at 100,000 streams. Every time we play it at a venue, pints are thrown, the roof is shaking, people are going insane.
All other people in bands are going, this sounds like the guy who robbed us.
Pretty much.
Axl Rose is sat at home going, it's the guy who got £100,000 out of me, I swear this is it.
But we got most of the money back in the end. One good thing he did for us was get us in touch with our new manager. We were very sheepish of, you know, talking to at first, but you know what? He's the best person I've ever met. Yeah. Like, he's such a nice guy. He's really supportive, and he knows what he's doing. Yeah. In 2 years, he's took us from nothing to something.
That's sick. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the story of the origin from the band. But to bring Ben into this later down the line, not too long ago, Charlie left for his reasons. I think he wanted to start a family, stuff like that, and it wasn't working for him. I'm like, fair enough, you can't fault a guy for that, and he's doing great.
But it's tough, isn't it? I suppose going on tour and being
it's hard to be a
family
man.
He was married, he had the house, the dog, and everything, and you know, I was sensing he wanted a baby and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of there. So we got Ben in as well. Amazing drummer. Can't fault him in any way at all. So yeah, that's the band.
Let's go back to when you said about how you had all that money stolen from, taken, stolen, or conned out of, I should say. So about £8,000. I mean, for a startup band at the time, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And as you said, you could have easily just given up or stopped and said, yeah, what do we do now? Because you go to a point where you've put so much money in, and then it's all taken away from you. You then got to go all the way back to step one, and think, okay, shit, where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I was kind of wondering where the cash, what the cash was for, because like look, so I've got a couple of friends who are in the industry, and they're in a couple of, I don't know if you've heard of Peace. You heard of Peace? No. They're like a Birmingham band. They did quite well, and I've had a couple of friends who go through the industry. I've got one friend who's a songwriter. He was in Canada for a bit, come back. But I always wonder, like, because they always talk about this, like they put money together to put something into something. Is that just to pay for the manager to find you shows, or what does that go for?
So it would be like recordings.
Oh, I see, for the studio time.
So like this guy was promising us to take us to a studio where Ed Sheeran recorded his whole Divide album.
Right.
Like you can really see like you know the bullshit coming out at this point. So like, you know, be saving up for recordings and stuff like that. So it costs this much. So we're like, of course it costs this much. Yeah. You know, quite naively.
Well,
you know.
Of course, yeah.
But when you're presented with facts and evidence, so to speak, of what he's claiming, you know, you go on his social medias and there'll be photos of him with celebrities. You're like, this guy's real, you know.
Yeah.
But for us, you know, when you're just like 5 working class lads who are working 40 plus hours a week on
Just
minimum wage
money,
just to get by,
isn't it?
and running your own home and stuff like that, like the blow at first was shocking. I mean, when I found out in London, I was like, it's ruined my night.
Yeah.
You know, so to speak.
Yeah. What was the morale was the word I was looking for of the overall band? I presume
we were
it was
pretty
very low.
deflated.
Yeah.
But we were like, look, you know what? Forget this guy. We're going to do this without him. Let's write a song. As cliche as it is, right? To write a song about your manager fucking you over.
Yeah, everyone does it though, don't they?
Like,
Singers
let's do it.
Yeah.
And we recorded it in my bedroom, and I sent it to a mate who like mixed it together. And then we went down to London to record it properly. And like I said, it's still our number 1 song at the moment. So it resonates with people.
Yeah, well, I can only imagine, mate. Loads of singers and things do it, don't they? Like, if there's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, they write about it, and then those songs always seem to do really, really well. But it's interesting because as I was saying before, we'll get on to, of course, the other thing that happened as well last year in September, shortly in the podcast. But trauma's sort of what spikes it for a lot of people. We had this conversation with Amy, go watch the podcast. And also with sort of my experiences, your experience, that trauma does spike. That gives you that kick to want to just do it with, well, just go straight for it, and not quit. And it's interesting that you say that as well, that was what spiked you to write that song, and then that was the point where the band sort of grew and grew and grew from that point.
And again, it goes back to that bit where you said about, you know, you were smoking weed in your room and playing guitar. If you hadn't gone through all those motions, all those things that you've gone through in terms of like, you know, the Dream Cellar, you know, smoking weed and all those things, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Exactly. Everything happens for a reason. I believe that.
Yeah.
And you know, growing up it wasn't difficult, but I've been through my fair share.
Yeah.
Shit, like anyone has, like divorced parents. I won't go into it, but like, it can get messy. But for me, genuinely wanting to pursue a career like this, because it's one of them careers where it either doesn't work or it works and you are set for life.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
Yeah. So
for me, you know, at 17, I realized I needed money, right? And then I think it was at about 20, I realized I'm not going to make money working a regular job. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter how much I save, the price of everything is going up. You know, I need to either run or own a business, or I need to do something, you know, amazing. I need a miracle. So for a while I started a clothing brand, which was called Rejuvenated Apparel.
Cool.
Its main logo was like a little cherry blossom which I don't know. I hold my identity around a cherry blossom. It was on one of my guitars for a long time.
Yeah, cool.
And I'd sold alternative-based clothing. And I remember my first day, I made about £380 on launch day.
Mad.
I was like, oh my God. And then lockdown hit.
Nobody was really buying clothes.
That's it. The demand went down. I even tried selling face masks.
People were just wearing like joggers. It got to for a year of in terms of clothing, people were like sweatpants, top, joggers. And if people did go out, they were going out in their work clothes.
I couldn't even really give the stuff away at the end. I've dropped most or pretty much all of it off at a charity shop now. I've kept a few pieces for myself. My grandma was like, why don't you sell it for £5? I was like, no one is going to pay for it. I'm just giving it out. Here's a beanie, here's a jumper, stuff like that. So I gave it all to a charity shop in the end. But I remember speaking to my coach from, what was it? The Prince's Trust. That was it. And he was saying, because the band was happening at that time. That's when we were getting together, and it was going to, I need to put money into it. I'm putting money into a business, but also paying rent. Like, this is free avenues right here. I can't support that. And he said to me on the call, I'll never forget it. It was like, what do you feel like is going to be more successful in the next year? And I went, honestly, probably the band. He went, there you go. Focus on that then. And here I am.
Yeah.
So I'll thank him for that.
So did you go through the Prince's Trust? Did you do it?
Yeah, went through the Prince's Trust. I recommend it to anyone who
Yes,
wants
so
to start
good.
a business under the age of 25.
So good. I went there before when I was under the age of 25. Getting old now, getting old. I went there before, and I went with the idea of my Aunt Lou cooks, and I went there with the idea of Aunt Lou's restaurant, but takeaway basically.
Nice.
And it was just like all you can eat buffet, but you take it in a tray and you leave.
Nice.
Basically, it was really cool. Like, it was like Jamaican culture, Chinese culture, all the different things. But you could just go, and it's like, £5 or £6 with a drink, and you come, and then you just literally help yourself, take your tray, and off you go. And you fill up as much as you want as possible.
It's really interesting how the Prince's Trust works.
It's great. They're great. They're open.
They also
to
gave me free
ideas.
tickets to Radio 1's Out in London, where I saw KSI, Biffy Clyro, AJ Tracy, so many people, and I got hammered. I had a great time, like massive double pints of wine.
Shout out to the king.
Yeah.
Doing your bit here. You did do your bit.
But it's interesting that if you put too many eggs in different baskets, you're not going to be able to focus on exactly what it is that you want to do. And again, those things might hinder that. So if you would have worked and then done other things alongside doing the band, you wouldn't have had the full focus of it, and you probably wouldn't. Well, you might be, but you may not be. There's a higher chance of you not being where you are right now.
I like to focus on one thing at a time, really.
Yeah.
Like, I can multitask somewhat. I'm not amazing at it. Like, if I'm playing guitar, watching TV, and having a conversation with someone, I can do that perfectly. But the idea of running a business on my own, right, and then having to write music, record music, and do all band stuff, and then also go to work and maintain social relationships at the same time. It's a bit much.
Can be overwhelming, I suppose, as well.
Yeah.
Especially also alongside that, trying to also maintain and build relationships, and that's going to be tough, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've sacrificed like relationships and stuff,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, because I'm very focused on this. It is pretty much all I want, so to speak. So yeah, it can get difficult.
8th of July 2022, Scum Like Us, your first single went live.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like putting that out?
I mean, it was really cool, because it was like, right, this is what we're representing with ourselves. It was a story. It's a story-based song about a lad who hasn't came from much, and because of like where he's grown up and stuff, he ends up going down the same path as everyone else. Like it says in the song, he's got a book in his right hand and a knife in his left. And the system has failed him, so to speak. And he'll follow the same footsteps as his dad, and like the police come in and everything. And it's very story based, and we wanted it to be raw like that as well. And the reception for it was really well. To be honest, we accompanied it with a little music video, which is gone now. But yeah, it's always nice to get something out there and people be like, this is what we're doing. I actually bumped into Franco in town not too long after it came out, and I recall him saying something along the lines of like, I was like, what's this? Owen's releasing music, and then he was like, oh my god, it's actually pretty good.
It is really good.
Yeah, it had a nice reception.
Yeah.
So.
What was the overall morale in the band when you release something like that? Were you nervous or?
It's good, to be honest. There's something you can have on your phone called Spotify Artists, where you can view all the stats and everything. You know, see who's actually listening to your music, and watching, you know, the numbers tick up constantly, because there's nothing worse than doing something and it flops.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like releasing a video on YouTube, for instance, and it's only got 10 views and 7 of them are you. Clicking on them to see how many views are on.
I know exactly what you mean.
So, you know, seeing the warm reception now, and like our numbers speak for themselves, so to speak now. So every time we release, it's like, yes, another hit, let's go.
Oh
so,
yeah, it's nice to know you've got followers and people that will just listen to you for you and won't just come across it and think, oh, this is nice, but they'll wait for you to release something and then go and watch it. There's no more rewarding feeling, especially having that also then just bang and do really, really well. Did you have to market much, or was it just
we like right, so in the early days we were testing waters a lot, what worked. So you do Facebook adverts and stuff like that now, and obviously you have to put out like loads of content and stuff like that, visuals that people can engage with. So then a music video comes out, and then you get clips of that and you post that on Instagram, like Song Out Now, stuff like that. All of this is thanks to our manager. Like I said, he is like a marketing wizard, so to speak. He knows exactly what he's doing. I leave the business side to him, because I'll be honest, I don't really know too much. You know, I'll turn up and look pretty. That's my job.
Whole, isn't it, business to everything you need to know and to do, and you know
it's not just like, as well, the weird thing is you're not just like looking at it as in the sense of like, this is the song. You're like, visually, what story is that telling? Like as well as you've got a story that you're telling, also like visually, because sometimes you see it in bands, they'll play a song about, I was just thinking about like Mardy Bum, the song by Arctic Monkeys. The video is somebody in a car and they're just spinning around doing donuts. I think that's Mardy Bum, anyway. They're spinning around doing donuts, which actually, like, what reference does that have to the song? And actually, what is the song actually about? And actually, it's kind of just about a little bit about Sheffield, really, as a whole, which is kind of weird. But then it shows you that council state of life, and then actually, is it actually like that? I don't know. So, but yeah, I think when you're managing and marketing a band, I think you're very much looking at visuals, you're looking at budget, you're not just managing like a product,
aesthetics.
Like Apple, aesthetics. Yeah, like how does that look when you're on stage, when you're performing that song? Like, man, it's a lot. It's actually a lot.
Honestly, right. So before the band rebranded, we were like tie-dye shirts, summer beach vibes, stuff like that. And you can see it's obviously shifted.
Yeah, definitely.
From there, because then we started with this, and we were like, right, how do we want to look? Because that's like, when you're on stage, there's so many things you need to take into account, like the aesthetics of it. How's everyone going to look? Because if you're all dressed up in suits and then somebody's in joggers or jeans,
it's kind of odd.
It's not going to look great.
Yeah.
I tend to just wear black because it's the only colour I personally feel comfortable in. And I can put together an outfit and it looks good. Like, I'm not wearing jeans, I'm wearing trousers.
So you feel comfortable.
But I'm also wearing Vans. I'm not wearing smart shoes. So it'd be one of them where we kind of dress up, we make ourselves look nice in a sense. But that's been a graft to discover that on its own. We'll try different things out.
You kind of have your
I've got a question, actually. So you're at home, you're feeling lazy, you've got no plans for the day. What are you wearing? Because obviously most of the time you wear black, so
joggers and any shirt.
I was going to say, because like, you know what, like, people will constantly probably see you in black. They see you as
my going out outfits are very different to my staying in outfits.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just
like,
cool,
I'll always dress up like I'm going to go out and see my worst enemy, so to speak. If you know what I mean, it's one of them. Or an ex or something like that.
Dress as well as you can.
Dress as well as you can whenever you're in public.
Yeah.
When I'm at home, joggers, shirt with an egg stain on. Like, just like flowy.
That what I'm doing.
Crocs.
I mean, honestly, generally, Crocs to win, man.
They've made such a comeback, and I was so against them. And then I saw my singer wearing them, and then I thought, I'll just pop them on. Right? And I was like, oh my god,
you're an avid Crocs wearer.
I've changed. Like, literally, I saw my girlfriend had a pair of Crocs. I was like, I'll wear those. Put my foot in them. Amazing. Stanley Cup. What do you have for? It's just, what's wrong with the glass? Now I'm sipping out a Stanley Cup. It's got it. Honestly, I've turned it into one of those. They do. They get you bad.
Stick them in sport mode as well. You can do anything.
Oh, literally, you can literally. the strap is down.
But what was it like recording your first single? So, like, I know that a lot of people which start a band, I mean, I've never done it, but from what I can imagine and from what I've heard, that studio time is like the one thing we think, that's sick. Like, people always wanted to do that, rather than recording in a bedroom or a kitchen or wherever. Going into a studio and having that professional feeling atmosphere. So what was it like when you did you record the first song in a studio, or
Yeah,
was
it was in a studio. Yeah.
So what was that like?
So Scum Like Us, it was. Well, it's normal for me now. It's hard to explain it.
It's normal now, but when you first stepped foot into a studio and thought, "Holy shit, this is real."
Yeah, it's like, wow, the massive mixing desk, a whole room for the drums, microphones everywhere, and you know the song, you got to be on your A game, make sure everything's in time. There's a metronome going constantly. And you're like, but you learn to love it. You got to, otherwise it'll drive you mad.
What's the overall atmosphere like?
Buzzing.
Yeah, it's
always buzzing. It can be intense sometimes. It really depends on what's going on in that room. Like if the recording session's going well, then it's amazing.
I find it so fascinating because have you ever watched Get Back with the Beatles?
Yes.
So they're in Abbey's studio, and they're basically like, the manager's like, you're in here for a week and you're recording. Now in my head I'm like because that's obviously like, that's cream of the crop there, you're at the top, right? Abbey studio, so you do it there, and they perform on the roof in the end. So one of the things they perform, but
spoilers.
For me, what's that? Yeah, spoilers. Yeah, sorry, no spoilers. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Watch it now,
to be fair, I mean, the Beatles have been around for ages. If you haven't seen it, it's really weird. But also, like they're in there, and you can see them. They start to perform the songs that they perform. So like they'll, Yellow Submarine, and they start playing it in heavy metal. They start doing these things, and they're playing the songs in a different way, and they're doing things in a different way because they know, like, they're going to perform it how they want to perform it and how the song's supposed to be portrayed. But because they're in that studio 24 hours a day, constantly around each other, like having to be, it's like having I feel like being in a band is like being married.
It is.
Like they generally do. Like you're constantly amongst each other.
You spend more time with them than you probably would with anyone else.
100%.
It's not like going to work. You do 9-hour shift, you go home. You're still going after like 9 hours. You're
like,
still gotta...
we're living together at the moment in Airbnbs up and down the country.
Yeah.
I love the boys. Like, but sometimes it's like, oh my God.
Oh, man, I totally get it.
But no, everyone in the band is exactly the same, because it is a case of like, we'll go out, we'll do our thing, and then we'll come home, and then there's suddenly 6 people all in a house together. That might be big, it might be small,
Yeah.
And you got to cook. You got to cook, someone's got to clean up. Then you've got to do content. You got to do this, write a song, stuff like that. But in terms of the studio, like I said, the vibe can change depending on whether it's going well, whether it's not.
What would determine if it was going well or not?
You just flying through it.
Right, okay.
Stuff like that. Sometimes you might struggle with a riff, getting it perfectly in time. It's normal. That happens. Sometimes you might be rewriting the song slightly, so it works better. This element might work better here instead of there. And then people's opinions clash and stuff like that. Again, this is totally normal stuff.
Yeah.
Happens to musicians all around the world since it's
course.
begun. But like sometimes it's a party as well.
I can imagine it's so sick when it's
like
just flowing
when
really well.
When we were recording Dream Cellar, I won't go into it too much, but it was great because you'd be recording the song and it's like, finally we're getting this down.
Because everyone at that point, I suppose with that song in particular, everyone has the same motivation to just want to get it out and do it as well as possible because of the backstory of the song. And I've just realised that the name of the song, Dream Cellar, is sick.
Yeah,
that's such a good song.
It's
that's such a sick
He
song
sold
name.
us the dream.
Where are you? How has that only just clicked?
I don't know. I just thought that's such a sick name.
Yeah.
It's
Who came up with that name? Or was it just like we hate this guy, we need to call it something?
Dream Cellar. There we go.
Yeah, like,
I can't remember. Matt might have just done it on the lyrics. He might have came up with the chorus.
Yeah.
Like, because it's in the chorus, for instance. So we thought that's the obvious title name.
Yeah, it's good.
Out of interest, I don't know any about this, and I think a lot of people listening and watching will be interested. Writing a song.
Mm-hmm.
How difficult is that?
Can be quite hard, but it also can be quite easy. It's right. You can never tame a guitar, for instance, stuff like that. Your instrument, you'll never master it, right? And I beat myself up about it. Like, I'll get imposter syndrome really bad. Okay.
Which was something I was going to actually talk to you about.
I was like, I heard that somewhere before.
And sometimes I'll be like, I can't do this. All right, like everything I'm writing sounds like shit. But then I remind myself, Owen, guitar's hard. Like, and you're not learning something. You're trying to come up with something. You're trying to put words into it and stuff like that. And I always focused on songwriting when I was going through my guitar journey, so to speak. Like, I'd learn songs, I'd learn techniques, stuff like that, obviously. But learning to write songs is a whole different kettle of fish on its own. Sometimes you write something and you'll be like, oh, no, that's the Jackson 5. Never mind. Like,
rock bands. That's my other job.
But I love songwriting, personally. Sometimes it comes easy. Sometimes it comes hard. I tend to write about things that have happened to me and my own personal emotions. So it's either, oh my God, I'm in love, or oh my God, I'm so sad. It's one of them. I've now tried to branch out a little bit and do like storytelling, writing. I wrote a song the other day that was basically about a guy whose life was awful and then died of a heart attack, but he dropped his son off at school at the start of the day, said, I'll pick you up at the end of the day, but then his son's still waiting for him at the end. I was crying by the end when I finished this song. But yeah, songwriting, it's one of them.
Yeah. What about lyrics to a song? I know that it's probably Matt's job to really think about that. Mm-hmm. But I suppose that's really difficult as well. Have you had conversations with him about it, or has he told you how difficult
Matt
it
is a lyrical genius. It's not just lyrics, it's melody. Like, you can say something and it can rhyme at the end of every line.
Yeah, of course.
So to speak. Right. But one thing I've learned from Matt is melody, and trying to, maybe instead of just ending it there, you'll let it go off a little bit more. I like to think of him as like the melody master, because I look up to it a lot. My lyrics are trash, I personally believe. Anyway, I can do verses for days. Choruses, forget it. Right? I can't write a good chorus to save my life.
No.
But yeah, it's one of them. I tend to leave it more to Matt, and I'll try and give like context. Like if we're sat together trying to think of lyrics, instead of me actually trying to come out with something because my brain will go dead, I'll have an idea of something, but I don't know how to put it into words. So I'll go, all right, context. What if the guy did this? And then he'll go, okay, and then put some words to that.
Nice. To end off this section then, Owen, if there's someone watching now that's thinking of forming a band, if there's someone that's wanting to get into music, the industry in general, to do maybe a singer, it could be, again, a guitarist, a drummer, whatever it might be. From your experience in the last year or two of doing it and being in the position you are now, and obviously going through what you've gone through, what piece of advice would you give them?
Don't give up. Seriously, don't give up. It will be a graft. Just commit yourself to your instrument no matter what. Submerge yourself into the world. Find people who are into that too. Like surround yourself with people who have the same passion. My dream is, to do this full time, which is what I'm doing now, and perform in front of thousands of people, which, I'm getting there. Not everyone's dreams might be that. Some people might just want to learn guitar. Some people might want to just play their favorite song. It's totally fine, totally valid. Everybody has different goals. If you are looking to kind of, form a band and play shows and grow your band and stuff like that, then just stick at it. Keep writing. That's what I'd say. And yeah, it's pretty much that. Just don't give up.
No, love it. Right, now we'll move on to Chris's section of the podcast, which is the quickfire round.
Yeah, quickfire round. Let's do it. This is a series of questions that probably you won't normally get asked, or you might get asked, who knows.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, just a bit more about you. Let's get to know you. So one ideal artist, collaboration artist that you'd like to collab with?
1975.
1975?
I love them so much. I saw them at Finsbury Park.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I cried 8 times.
He's sick. Just choked. Sounds good. You are about to become a rap artist.
Okay.
What is your rap name, and what's the name of your first album?
Oh my God. Lil Trot.
Lil Trot.
I love that.
And I don't know, From the Streets.
From the Streets. No one's buying it. What's one location you really want to perform in?
Wembley.
Wembley, yeah, sick.
Arena or stadium?
Both.
Nice.
Sick. Your favourite pop song or classic?
Oh God. I don't actually know.
I
love pop music. Hang on. This one won't be quick fire. Pop song or classic? Okay, I'll go classic and I'll say Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, sick. Good choice. One career path you would love to be in?
Can't be music.
Okay.
Yeah, can't be music. Sorry.
The film industry.
Film industry, sick.
I love special effects. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, sick. Sounds good. One artist you're inspired by?
Brian May.
Brian May. and you've got £1 million and you have 24 hours to spend it. How does that look for you? How are you going to
Spend all of it?
Yep, in 24 hours.
After 24 hours.
Okay, so clear any overdrafts. Sensible.
No one said that. Everyone's like, "Ow, I'm gone."
Yeah. Buy a house, car, holiday home. I mean, to be honest, after buying a house, I'm probably not left with much in this country.
No.
To be fair, but yeah.
Don't go big because you got to keep it running.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't go big.
What
Go
did we
small.
say? I said that I'd get all the boys together, pay them whatever, go to Vegas and just put it all on black.
Yeah, that's what he said to you. Yeah.
I said something very similar to that yesterday to Harry. I'd buy a lot of guitars.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't know if I've got one more question. Let me just see if I've got one more.
And
I think
holidays.
I've got one more question.
Oh yeah.
One song that's important to you.
This one might take a moment.
Okay, no worries.
One song that's important to me.
Could be for whatever reason you like.
Funny enough, while we were on the topic, mine is Patience by Guns N' Roses. Very important
Beautiful
song to me.
song.
Mine's
Love it.
Piano Man by Billy Joel.
Sick.
Can I check my on repeat?
Mate, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. It's okay. Go for your Spotify annually playlist.
It's one of them. It's like when someone says, "Can you play a song on guitar?" and my brain goes, can't remember anything. You know what? There's so many songs that are important to me. This is probably the hardest question I've.
Okay, let's change it slightly. If you only had one song that you could listen to for the rest of your
Yeah,
life,
that's good.
what would that be?
I think that's harder, isn't it?
That is harder. Okay, a song that actually means something to me. All right. There's a song by Eminem called Headlights. Now, I remember hearing that for the first time at a park in Old Shorten. And at the time, it was really hard for my family, especially my mother.
Mm.
And we were going through a lot of stuff. It was post-divorce, and it was a really difficult time for our relationship and, you know, just the family at the time. And Headlights is, from what I remember, addressing issues, but also about forgiveness at the same time. And I remember that song really resonating. And I know it might seem a bit, you know, wild for me, whose names artists like Queen, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah,
stuff
of course,
like that, to
no.
suddenly go Eminem.
No, it's not
Right.
wild at all.
But
should be listening
that
to all.
song has a special place in my heart, so to speak. So yeah,
Sick answer, to be fair.
Thank
Fair
you.
play. That it?
Yeah, that's it. Fire
And that
round done.
concludes Chris's quick fire round.
Little trot.
Mate,
Oh, God.
mate, I love that section of the podcast. It's so sick. Back on track.
I'm back on track.
Tour.
yes,
Everyone gets it in the head that when they start a band, that's like the one thing they dream of doing is going on tour, playing in front of all these people, and like even headlining, or even if it's a supporting act, it's still incredible to have all the people. Like I went to see Madness a few months ago. They were so good, and there was the band, the supporting band, and all the people were in there. And there's huge crowds, obviously there for Madness, but those crowds are also listening to them and like having a good time. And I can imagine that's as starting a band and being someone that gets into music, that's what drives you to do that.
tour is always like a goal, especially when you first start, because you're like, oh God, you hear stories, you know, from big rock stars, like
Yeah.
the tours Guns N' Roses used to go on, and you're like, oh my
Smashing
God,
hotels
like,
and
Yeah.
throwing
you know,
guitars
the
out windows.
Eagles actually hold the record for I believe this statistic is right. The Eagles hold the record for the most expensive hotel room trash, and it's millions.
Oh my
And you think the
gosh.
Eagles, Hotel California,
What
if
they
you,
do, like,
if you
break
watch
the
their
wall down.
documentary on Netflix, which might still be on there, those boys got up to a lot.
Oh my
Right.
God.
But tour also isn't what people think it is at the same time. Like, you know, it's petrol stations and motorways most of the time. But it's great. Like, obviously, the first experience I've ever had of tour was going on tour with Tom Meehan from Kasabian, which, for someone who had a Kasabian poster on their wall growing up, and now I'm there with, you know, Tom,
Yeah, sick.
it's insane. And, you know, he's like a legend in his own right and everything, and he's back out there, he's doing his thing. And I'm there in front of, you know, you go for one night and it's like 350 people right in front of you, and you're like, okay, I've got like a whole month and a half of this, let's go. And it's fantastic. We might be the support band, and sometimes the place isn't full because you're like the first or second band
Yeah.
on. And then other days it's like, oh my God. Like Birmingham was the best for us because it's local to home.
Yeah.
And it was like our own headline show. It was 30 minutes. It was full back to front.
Yeah.
And like we'd play our slower song 07, and you know people will have their torches on and everything. And
That's sick.
like I've got so much cool footage on my phone and photos and stuff like that. It's core memories. And we played Shepherd's Bush in London, iconic venue. You look around, the architecture inside alone is enough to blow your socks off. Like, and the stage is massive. And you meet so many amazing people. At the same time, I've met the guy who runs Download Festival, you know, and it's bonkers, honestly. And then we went on our own tour, right, which we've just came off. And, you know, again, we didn't really know what to expect, but then, you know, we go ahead and sell 80% of the whole tour.
Oh, sick.
That's really good. Wow.
Like, and you're there and there's people screaming. Like, I'll come out on stage, I'll hear people shouting my name, and then I'll look at them smile and they'll just start freaking out. And, you know, you play to them, so to speak. Like, with guitar, you know, you'll go down a little bit and play and they're like screaming and trying to touch you and stuff like that. And it is an insane feeling. I can't really describe it, but I wouldn't swap it for anything else.
Loudest crowd on your tour?
Birmingham or Newcastle.
But Newcastle was sick.
Newcastle was the biggest cap. It was about 250, and it pretty much sold out. Like, and loud,
Sick.
loud. I love it. It's screaming and everything.
Good.
It's insane.
So when you start performing, and you know, you mentioned that sometimes it can be a case where the room isn't very full, but then other times where the room is mega full. When the crowd started to get bigger and it was noticeably bigger, what was that feeling like? As in, like, oh my God, we're actually getting somewhere, or how did that feel?
I mean, it definitely helps for confidence when there's more people there, but then at the same time, it's also nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
I've always lived by the mantra, right, of like you're playing at Wembley. Doesn't matter if there's 2 people there or 2,000, okay? Because at the end of the day, and some of the best advice I ever got was, you know, people don't come to listen to a show, they come to watch a show.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So you
me and the boys know that we put on a show. If you boys ever come to one of ours, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, it's so much fun. But definitely seeing crowds grow is an amazing feeling. I mean, we've managed to kind of strategically do it well, in a sense. Like, we were playing pubs in like local areas and stuff like that, and all the locals would come, and then they'd come to the actual shows as well, and you grow a community, so to speak. So yeah, I'm loving to see that the crowds are getting bigger now, and it's for us. And a compliment that I actually received on the tour that we've just came off, one of the support bands that came up to us in Birmingham, they gave us a bottle of whiskey. They were like, lads, thank you so much for having us on this tour. Our social media has blown up from this. And I thought, wow, like, I've been in that position before. To be in the band where you're supporting someone, you know, who's doing really well, and you watch your socials blow up because of it. I know exactly how that guy feels right now. I feel flattered. Like, thank you so much. Like, so yeah, it's incredible.
Humbling.
Yeah, it's really humbling, and it's nice because it shows progress as well, I believe.
Yeah. And how did the boys handle it?
Oh, we all love it.
Yeah.
We're built for this. It's this all.
It's a dream,
nothing.
isn't it? Of course,
yeah. It's a dream, yeah.
We're all in. All the cards are in.
Yeah.
Without commitment, you never start. Without consistency, you never finish. That's my favourite quote.
Nice.
And it resonates with, well, what I've done, what you've done. Obviously, you committed, and then it's just every day is a grind.
Yeah.
And eventually, you've also got to enjoy the journey more than the destination, because you can always say that in 10 years' time, the band could be the biggest in England. It could be worldwide. You know, everyone might love it, but the journey and the lessons you learn along the way are the most important part.
I really try and take in the journey as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like, you know, modern generations, we're all awful for being on our phones.
Yeah.
I try and keep mine below 6 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As like an average.
Yeah.
And I'll try and stay off my phone and just look around, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Even when we're just in the van, or like if we're in the studio, I'll just
Yeah.
be watching someone
Be
do the
present.
same takeover, and I'll be present in the
Yeah.
moment.
Being in the
These
moment, yeah.
are probably the best years of my life.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, and I want greatness in my life, and you know, I'm fighting for it, so to speak. But these early years are the ones I'm going to look back on eventually, and you know, I want to remember it, so to speak.
It's not taking it for granted either. 'cause
Exactly.
Not everyone gets to do what you do.
Exactly.
And I think
I'm incredibly grateful.
And I think the more you do something, the more normal it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
So tour for you now and studio recording and doing this and doing that, and like having people come up to you and recognizing you is sort of becoming not the norm in like an egotistical way, but because it's happened, it's kind of like you don't expect it, but the more it happens, the more you sort of become accustomed to it.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, when you're in Burbage outside the Chinese and those 4 lads come up to you, like that was quite like humbling to you, and the fact that you are doing quite well.
Yeah.
So
It's nice because often imposter syndrome does set in.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that now. Actually, it was a question towards the end of the podcast, but we have spoke about it twice. Imposter syndrome for me, I have had it a couple of times in my life where I feel like I don't belong here, or that I shouldn't be in this position, or I'm not good enough, or there's people out there that are better than me that I look at and think, you know, like, why am I here? Like, he's so much better in doing this and doing that, but like, I'm still here. What is imposter syndrome like for you?
When you're surrounded by what you believe are world-class musicians, and you know you struggle with certain things, it sets in sometimes that you might not be good enough. But then everything amazing is happening around you, and I've had so many amazing things happen to me that I'm incredibly grateful for, you know. But then there are times when you'll get into your own head about it at the same time, and that's natural.
Yeah.
I've came to accept, and a lot of it's not true, so to speak, as well. It's like
it is just your mind playing games.
it's just your mind being horrible. Like, I used to say, there's no point in having imposter syndrome when you've always been depressed anyway.
It's true. Yeah.
Like, this is just another Monday for me,
Yeah,
so
of
to
course.
speak.
Yeah.
But it's something I've noticed as well, and I'm taking steps in my life to be better and kinder to myself. One of my New Year's resolutions was to be kinder to myself, and it's working. Like, I'm doing dry Jan at the moment. My birthday's in March. I might try and wait till March, till my birthday, to have a drink, you know, so to speak, because my life is improving from it. You know, I joke about it and say it isn't, but I'm saving money. I'm not hungover, right? Because there's a lot of drinking in this industry, so to speak, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, yeah, imposter syndrome's a weird one. So, like...
I get it, because I've had it, and I understand exactly what you mean. Like, you just feel like you're not good enough, or you always doubt yourself, and that's the difficult part. For me, it's always the uncomfortable positions are always the best ones to be in. Like, for example, we'll take this podcast. Like, we know each other, we're good friends, we've known each other for so long, but sitting in front of a camera and always talking to each other, it's like, it's uncomfortable. And we always find this, don't we, Chris?
Yeah,
that as soon as the camera's rolling, it's just it's not uncomfortable, but you kind of like, you change.
Yeah, of course.
And it becomes more difficult to have a fluid conversation until you get into it. And it's the same with anything. An uncomfortable situation is difficult, but it's those uncomfortable situations which like shape you into who you are, and that's where you learn the lessons.
What's the saying? It's like, I think it was like a Roman saying or something like that. It's like, weak times create strong men create safe times create weak men. Yeah. And so on and so on. And then it repeats over and over. But yeah, I'm being kinder to myself at the moment, trying to remind myself of the good things I've achieved. You know, because I think I had one friend turn around to me at one point and she said something along the lines of like, Owen, you've quit your job. Like, this is your life now. Like, and I was like, oh my God, it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, but again, incredibly grateful for everything I'm doing at the moment. Wouldn't trade it in at all.
Mate, you're doing really well. You don't need to be hard on yourself. You and the boys are doing better than I suppose you've ever thought. You probably would, and everyone around you as well is like, wow, you're doing really, really well. So give yourself some more credit.
You know what the greatest thing about all of it is that you're not done.
Oh mate, you've not even started.
Not even started.
Oh, we're still in our origin story.
You're not even started.
It's great, man. It's great. That you know, it's so good. It's so good to see people like just because I talked about the Beatles earlier, but their evolution was completely different by the end of it. And actually, at the end of it, they weren't really a thing, and you know, they all went off and did their own thing. But that kind of journey that you go through to do it and to perform, and you know, okay, different back then. There was no social media and stuff, but now you have a tool to use it to try and obviously a lot of people are using that same tool as well to get themselves out there. But the great thing is that you're loving what you're doing. There are members in this band who also love what they're doing. It's about surrounding yourself with people that understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and also want to be involved in a part of it.
Exactly.
It's so important.
It goes back to the advice I gave. You know, it's like, surround yourself by like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and also like, don't be the best person in the room. So I look at myself where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm the best musician, and you know what? That's actually a good thing, because I can learn that from him. I can learn this from that, so to speak. So I'm actually in a really good position to grow.
But I believe you're humble enough to realize like that you probably like people would look at you in the room and go, he's the best musician, but however you would be that humble to be like, just from meeting you, that you'd be like, I'm not the best musician in the world in this room, because there's a bigger spectrum, there's a bigger I don't think you'll ever stop. Basically, moral of the story is I don't think you'll ever stop, because even if you became the best person in that room, or somebody told you were, you'd be humble enough to say, nah, I'm okay, and actually go out there and go, there's another room next door that's just as good, and I'd love to be involved and taking in things from there. I think is an ever-growing thing for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
it's all about learning, isn't it?
Absolutely.
From everyone around you. There's no point in being jealous or having that jealousy.
And that's why you need to look out for Little Trot's album, because that is going to be the one.
Streets.
That's going to be the one. Outside, they're going to be the 4 little kids outside the park in Birmingham. That's Little Trot.
So let's talk about the van.
Oh God.
This is a story. You're on tour, September time. You come back the next morning, the van with all of the stuff in, gone.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, we just finished, going around in Scotland, and it was amazing. It's like we cracked it. This is going to be great. Go for a Guinness on the Sunday. It's like, yep, sell it. We've done really well this week. The social media is growing like mad. Let's carry on as we are. Celebrate with a pint. Go back to the Airbnb. And this was in Bishop Auckland, up like County Durham, Newcastle way. And we parked up the van where the Airbnb host told us to, because it's like CCTV. It's lit. There's like barriers in and out. It can be as protected as a car park can be in the centre of a town. We go to bed. Wake up the next morning, slightly hungover from the Guinness, obviously. Drag myself out bed, get changed, go to the van with all my stuff, and we're walking in there, and my manager goes, ha ha, funny, all right, who moved the van? It's like, no, I haven't touched it. Seriously? It's like, didn't you go to it last night? It's like, no, I didn't. It's like, oh my God, I need to call the police. It was, my heart sunk. Mate. Like, we had £30,000 worth of equipment, including the van as well, in that van. And I remember Joe threw his water bottle in anger. I just started crying. I won't even lie.
Okay, no.
I'll show you these photos actually of what I lost.
Yeah, let's see.
I'll send them to you as well, so you can pop them on screen.
Put them on screen, yeah.
So I lost this guitar here.
Oh no.
And that's the cherry blossom we were talking about
That's
earlier.
the cherry blossom with my identity, like I said. And I lost this as well. That cost about £1,000 on its own. And then there was this board thing as well, which cost a lot of money. But it was the worst week of my life.
Yeah.
And I was actually planning on not drinking when I started the tour. Obviously, I thought I'd treat myself on that Sunday, right? Yeah. It's been a good week. But you can see on my Try Dry app that everything's yellow, which means not drinking, and then there's 1 week which is just black line, where it's it was
stressful.
So stressful. Ben, the drummer, he lost a drum kit which was worth about £7,000 on its own, which he grew up on. He grew up on that kit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's
nothing come back.
Nothing. Joe lost his guitars again, stuff that he's had since he was a little kid. Same with Harry. Same with me. There's equipment in there which high quality level that Harry Styles would use. What I mean? We spent money on this stuff. And the worst thing is that the person who stole it, right, they probably flog it for 200 quid.
Yeah.
It's that's £30,000 worth of stuff inside. And it was awful. The locals came together though. The Airbnb host also owned a cafe downstairs. They made us breakfast, and he was friends with the police commissioner or something like that. So the case was opened immediately. We got on ITV News, BBC News, but it was really difficult. We reached out, we put a post up with a bounty, so to speak, a £1,000 reward if anyone finds it or has any information that leads to it. Nothing came back, and it'd be one of them. As soon as the van was out of the area, they changed the plates, so to speak. And you know what they did, right? It was a transit, so you can get in that with a screw.
Yeah.
Right. Or screwdriver, sorry. And they barged through the barriers in the car park.
Did no one hear it?
Well, it was at like 2 a.m.
Jeez, man.
Like,
What, so I fully just drove through them?
straight up.
Oh my gosh.
Straight up, because we were going into buildings in the local area, and one of them was a council building, and they said they had to call the police because someone stole something from the car park last night and broke the barrier on the way out.
I never hear a story about where it sounds really weird, but like I never hear a story about where something's stolen and they find it. Like I've never heard like of anybody unless it's an actual person that goes missing. They're usually found, but in terms of like actual theft and like actually finding,
you think that with cameras being everywhere,
it's a car park. Easy. Like how could you not? It's a car park. It's a full-on car. It's not a small thing.
And there's not just cameras in the car park. There's cameras on the council building. There's cameras on the traffic lights. There's cameras everywhere.
Motorways,
everywhere. Like,
I think as soon as you pull into a country lane though, and then swap the reg round, or something, it becomes a lot more difficult. The police did all they could. Couldn't find anything. I'm on Facebook Marketplace and eBay like every day. If you see that cherry blossom, keep it in the back of your mind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
You too. All right.
Yeah, if you watch it, make sure of it.
Because I miss my baby so much. And then we had to deal with insurance companies not wanting to pay. Now, we had insurance.
Yeah.
And it was, right. So when we originally got insurance, they... Matt, who did it all, he said to the person on the phone, "Are the contents of the van going to be insured? Because we're going to have a lot of expensive equipment in there." They said yes. They didn't explain that there's different tiers
of course that is. Yeah.
So they tried to give us £200.
Brilliant.
And after a long, hefty battle with them, we managed to walk away with a lot more than that, but not
as much as what's
been taken. So we've been, rebuilding, so to speak. We're back on our feet now. We've had guitar companies reach out, so to speak, to help us. Chapman Guitars were one of them.
Yeah.
They've given me a beautiful guitar, which I absolutely love. Other guitar companies are interested too. And we're just rebuilding, so to speak, from this point.
Yeah.
You've had quite a lot of setbacks.
Yeah.
From the manager to the van. Again, I say it's something that you've been through before, so you kind of know. But at that point, for me, that's probably worse than the initial setback that you had. So how did you deal with this one?
Well, as soon as that happened, we reminded ourselves that it's just stuff. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
Right. As sentimental as it is, right, it is just stuff at the end of the day. We've got our health. No one's hurt. No one's in hospital. So thank God for that. And it took a lot of healing. Still healing now. I'm not going to lie. Like, I found a photo the other day of me at a show, and I'm holding one guitar and the other's in the background, and I look so happy.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like a little bit of my identity was stolen that day as well, which is something I've only recently, in like the last few weeks, came to kind of accept, that like, being a victim of crime isn't fun.
No, absolutely not.
And it can leave you with a feeling like something is missing,
like emptiness.
Yeah, seriously, because like that white guitar with the cherry blossom, I saw that in the shop.
Yeah, but even like the drum kit as well, like that's massive. Like that's a massive part of who you guys are in terms of what you were doing and why you were doing it. So, and all the fundamentals and everything that comes with it has been taken just because somebody wants to make money.
It's honestly, I've got no time for thieves at all. Like, I grew up on that guitar myself. I got someone to put a paint job on it to make it beautiful, and then it kind of became my iconic guitar, so to speak, because I always wanted one. Yeah. And I wanted to have it on a wall one day, so I can always look at it.
Can I ask you something? Have you made a song from it?
So we did toy around with the idea of one about the van being stolen, but it hasn't.
Because they're the ones, man. They're the ones.
Well, we also didn't want to milk it too much.
Yeah,
because we did. What was it? So just before we did like a Kickstarter to help us be able to afford going away and stuff like that and quit our jobs, which we hit our target. And then as soon as it happened, we were like, we've just asked people for about 10 grand, so it's like, luckily some kind soul, started his own one to raise some money for us, which was fantastic of him. Cool. We named the tour the Come Home Eileen tour because the van was called Eileen.
I see.
Yeah. And we didn't want to milk it, so to speak. There's only so much you can do, and then you've done that band who had their van stolen. So we're moving on from it now. We've got a new van called Jolene.
Maybe instead of a song about that scenario, maybe one just about everything. The ups, the downs, the ups, the resets.
It's probably in the pipe works.
I think that would be sick.
We're always writing all the time. Although, we did write a song which will be coming out in the next year. I can't say anything about it.
Cool.
Which is about overcoming adversity and hurdles.
Nice,
So
like that.
yeah,
Sick. Know
Well,
all about that.
Your next tour.
yeah.
Are you excited for it?
I can't wait.
Mm.
I can't say anything about it.
Yeah.
I can't say when it's going to be announced or anything like that. But what I can say and promise is that it's going to be bigger and better than the last one that we've done. And the last one was insane. You know, on the last tour we played Nottingham, Birmingham, Manchester, Sheffield. And it was incredible. We've got more dates, different cities, different countries.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So one final question for you then, Owen, before we finish off.
Go on.
What does 2024 have in store for Owen and the Mercians?
A lot of greatness, I hope.
Mm.
I really have a feeling this year something is going to pop. And that isn't my ego coming forward in any way. I can obviously see what's on the table at the moment and the people we're working with.
Mm.
And it's looking promising. So, yeah.
Nice, man. Well, we'll have to come to a concert when you're touring next.
Absolutely.
Which you think would be sick.
Yeah, let's see you there.
Cool.
Know
Well,
all about that.
To finish off, Owen, we ask all of our guests on the podcast to provide a quote to the listeners. So it's a sort of tradition that we quite like. So this quote can be something that's helped you through a difficult time. It could be something that you've heard and that's resonated with you along the journey. It could be something that your band members also. It could be like a quote that the band members all live by. But then the idea is for you to tell us what it means, but also the listeners to interpret what that might mean to them. So what is your quote?
It's a good life. It's a good life. Just as simple as that. Like,
Sick.
no matter what you're going through, just, remember, you've still got your health. You've got people around you who love you. You've got opportunity everywhere to do anything you want. So, it's a good life. And then there's another one which I've lived by for a bit longer, which I quite like, which is this too shall pass. All the good, all the bad.
Yeah.
It will go. You've just gone through a breakup. It's like, you will eventually get over it. Like you did with the last girl, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or, times might be hard financially. It's like, it will get better.
Yeah.
But you're also having an amazing time right now. That is also going to go. So enjoy the moment and remind yourself that it is a good life.
Sick,
No,
isn't
that
it?
is sick. That is sick.
Sick.
Well, Owen, thank you very much.
Thank you for
It's
having
been a
me.
pleasure, mate.
Laters. Peace and love.
And we're done.
Woo.
Cool.
There you go.
I mean, that flew by.